Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining and welcome everybody to yet another episode of Neo4j Live. Hi, Ciaran, how's it going?
Hey, Alexander. I'm good.
Good, great. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This is a bit of an unusual time slot this time for me at least in this space, but there are reasons for it, and that's obviously a global time zones. Yeah, before I dive in, I'd like to mention Nodes, which is happening in October, 26th of October. So if you have not registered for it, you can go ahead already. We will publish the agenda towards end of the month, and then in August we start with some more in detail looks, and in September there will be again a couple of workshops ahead of Nodes. So I think it will be a great package. And if you don't want to forget about it again or don't want to miss it when it's happening, then you can go ahead and register on the website, which I'm linking in chat right now. So that will be fun and interesting, and hopefully also something to learn and something to discover during the day. And as last time, speaking of time zones, as last time, we will try, or actually we will be doing this across a number of hours. So that means we will, no matter where you are located, you can watch something in your time zone, your daytime. You don't have to stay up late or get up super early. So that should be good for everybody.
I can tune in from Japan.
Exactly, you can. And that is why we're doing this at this time and not at the usual slot, which is a little bit more later in the day, because Ciaran is currently based in Japan. He is, and I had this written down and now I have the wrong window open. Yeah, exactly. You have finished your bachelor's degree in theoretical physics in Ireland, and now you moved on to complete your master's at the University of Tsukuba.
University of Tsukuba. Yeah.
Tsukuba, yeah, exactly. Okay, difficult word apparently at this time of day. But between your bachelor's and now your master's, you developed a tool called GraphTFT because you thought that there could be something fun to do with Neo4j, with the Grand Stack in particular. So Grand Stack, for people who don't know it, is the combination of GraphQL, React, and the Neo4j database, sort of as a full stack combination of tools around GraphQL, about some visualization aspect with React, and with some database aspect, obviously being the Neo4j part. But I guess we go ahead a little bit. Not want to progress too far now. Maybe Ciaran, I don't know. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Say a few words, who you are, what you do outside of Teamfight Tactics, maybe.
Yeah. You summed it up pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm from Ireland. I studied theoretical physics in Trinity College, Dublin. Then after I graduated, I started working at Accenture, and I was doing work there for about 2 years in the realm of graph databases.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
we were working with different companies to develop these graph databases to detect fraud and all sorts of things. And during that time, I was really interested in learning more about how can I implement these graph databases myself. Like, I'd love to build an application that uses Neo4j to do something interesting. Then I was thinking, oh, what is a good application? What can I make? And at the time, I must have been playing a lot of Teamfight Tactics because
Yeah.
I thought that was a good idea. So that's when I started building GraphTFT
Yeah.
a few months ago now. Then, since I started that, I've since moved to Japan and started my master's in computer science. So even now, my research is based on predicting the dynamics and evolution of social networks. So
Okay.
big
So
into
stick with the
networks.
graph, the graph theme, I guess, a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of research that goes on in Japan, so it seems like a great place to be for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, while I've been doing my studies, I've been continuing to develop GraphTFT using Neo4j, so it's been really good.
Very good. Cool. Yeah, I mean, social networks. I don't know if you saw that we had last time at Nodes, so maybe that's a good point. I can link to that, because now we talk about it. Last time at Nodes, we had an interesting keynote from Christoph what was it called? Sorry, I forgot the name now. Who was who's a doctorate about social networks, and he professor even, I think, and he talked about social networks and all the kinds of different you know, the patterns that lead to it and that come together and so on. And so that was a very interesting session. I don't know if you saw that. And now I'm looking for it.
I don't think I caught it. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
I caught those last year.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. That was interesting. So I'll see if I can hear Nicholas Christakis. Exactly, that's what it is. So now I've got it. And he talked about deep understanding of social networks and create an artificial tipping point, changing population behavior, and so forth. So
Yeah,
I'll put
that
that
sounds
in
very
chat.
relevant to our
Yeah.
research. I'll look into that.
Yeah, that in the chat as well. So here it goes. So that is maybe interesting. And how did you get to graph? I don't know. Did you discover this during your actual bachelor's, or was this more at the work at Accenture, where they a little bit told you, okay, here's this, work with it, or did you discover it yourself and say, hey, this could be a cool application for a challenge that they had for a customer, I guess?
I think my main insight into it was during my work at Accenture. So when I was studying theoretical physics, my undergraduate thesis was on this kind of lattice quantum chromodynamics, which is some kind of like quantum field theory stuff. And that was kind of based on a grid-based simulation, which is kind of graph related with all these connections between different nodes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I started working at Accenture where we were actually building these networks from different data sources to try and predict when different things would happen, like fraud and such. So it was after that I was like, okay, I really want to build my own app, and that's specifically when I got into Neo4j. So looking at the Neo4j developers platform, the learning platform there, and
Graph
then
Academy.
just Graph Academy, yes, and then just kind of trying to build my own app from scratch and see where it goes. GraphTFT is the first time I've actually built a website myself. So it's been a really interesting experience. I think I've learned a lot so far.
Yeah, I think that's what we always say. It's like when we can talk a lot about how that we try to make it as easy as possible for people to work with Neo4j with all these assets we put out, the documentation pages and everything else, and then obviously the Graph Academy. But once it gets you relatively far, but once you start building something with Graph yourself, when you start that these first steps, kind of, then I think it's where the progress comes as very quick, and you learn. You think about, okay, what do I need to do here, and what is this challenge over there, and whatever else is needed for this, and then you optimize your queries, optimize all of that stuff, and then it gets. Yeah, it's fun as well, hopefully, most of the time. And I don't know if you had exchange with community members, with people from on the forums or on a Discord server somewhere else with questions or Stack Overflow. It's usually quite
good.
I
have been on the forums and everyone's been very helpful. So it's been great. And like once you start using graphs, you start like thinking in graphs. Everything is a graph. What's connected to what? How can I model this?
Yeah. Cool. No, that's cool. And I saw I asked in the beginning if anybody is playing Teamfight Tactics. There's a Chill wrote they are playing Teamfight Tactics on mobile device. I haven't, honestly, I must admit, I haven't played it myself. So I don't know. Do you want to give a quick overview of what Teamfight Tactics is, maybe?
Yeah, sure. So TF Tactics, Teamfight Tactics, it's massive right now. It's a strategy game by Riot Games. So you may have heard of League of Legends or something like this. It's made by them. So how could I explain it? It's a strategy game that's based somewhat randomly. So there's many rounds. At the start of each round, you're given a selection of cards, and your goal is to build from those cards the strongest team possible. And that often means trying to build characters that have the same traits or synergies. So the goal of my app is to display these characters and synergies in a graph network so you can optimize and make the best team possible, basically. I hope that
Yeah.
was somewhat
Yeah,
understandable.
yeah,
Once
yeah,
you
yeah, that's
play the
cool.
game, it makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's cool. I think that makes a lot of sense, anyways, and I think that's one of the synergies recommendations, real time connecting the dots basically, or bringing together the individual strengths or weaknesses of your characters, and then find out, okay, who do I want to pick, what do I need to do, and maybe I have my favorites, right? I have a couple of heroes I like to play, and then I don't know who to add to my roster a little bit. I say maybe these 2-3 are like my given kind of, and then maybe when we show the app a little bit, it makes it very clear. And you pick your selection, and you say, okay, well, who else do I add to, and then you get the recommendation of maybe try this one, which you might not have thought about, but then you realize, okay, actually, yeah, it's a good complementation to what I'm usually doing already.
Exactly. Like you can, given a champion, you can add other champions that are based off the same synergy. So it's kind of a recommendation system in that sense. Also, there's items in the game. So different champions work better with different items. So
Okay.
if you're given an item, you'd say, oh, who do I want to put this on? Which champion do I choose?
Yeah.
So that's something that this GraphTFT also aims to solve.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. As always, invite to the audience. If you're watching this live, then obviously please type if you have any question, any comments, any feedback on anything. Then type it in chat. I'll have a look for it, and then I can read your questions. So then we can go over those. So the question is, how should we go about this now? Should we show the app as an overview, and then go show a little bit how you did it, and how you developed it a little bit, give some story about that. Is that a good path, or the other way
Yeah.
around?
Maybe showing the app first, maybe
Yeah.
give a bit of a feel for how it works and what's the purpose.
Yeah.
I also have the code open, and I have Neo4j's Bloom open too. So if you
Okay,
want to
cool.
explore there, we can
Yeah.
do either.
Yeah. Let's do that.
So I'll share my screen now.
Yep. Yeah,
Let
here
me
it is.
know when that's available.
Yep.
Great, you can see this.
I can see this. Yeah. Perfect.
Perfect. So this is the user interface of GraphTFT. If you've played TFT before, and somewhat competitively, you might know about team builders for TFT, which are helping you choose the best team to play. So this tries to be a team builder with extra features. So when you start off, you see the screen, and on the right-hand panel, we have a list of team comps here. So these are pre-made sets of champions. So the characters are called champions.
Yeah.
And these are.
Did you build those, or
so
were
these?
they? Is this a recommended build?
These are actually the current recommended champions in the meta of the game. So the best winning team compositions are constantly being updated, and then I display them here. So this is always up to date with like the current meta, what gets updated. So for example, this team here, it wins the top 48% of the time, and wins the game 21% of the time. So to start off, you can straight up build a team from the right hand page, or you can add a champion, which is probably the more standard way to use the app. So we see a list of champions here. Then usually you would get one of these gray colored champions when you start the game. So as the color changes, they get more powerful, these champions, and they're more late game champions.
I see. Okay. Yeah. You unlock them basically through playing.
Yeah, exactly. As you like level up through each match, you get stronger champions.
Yeah.
So if I add some champion to the board, you see it builds the graph of the champion and their synergies, and it adds the champion to one of the hexagons. Again, if you're unfamiliar with Teamfight Tactics, this is the board where you position your champion in the game. So some champions will perform better if they're at the back or at the front. So here's our graph. We can click on a champion to see more information. So the items recommended, the synergy, the cost, each champion has a cost associated with them. And we can press this button here to show the recommended items. So
Nice.
a bit of a basic overview. Then say you're playing the game and you get Poppy. Then next, say the next random champion you're given is Kled here. If you add Kled to the network, it will automatically, and this is the great part about Neo4j, it will automatically filter the highest meta team comps.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is something new that I've never seen any Teamfight Tactics website do before, where you get a live update of the best team comps. So say you choose you want to build Slayer Kale, which is the name of this team comp. If you press build, it will automatically construct the graph with
Nice.
the champions in their positions and their relative star levels. Then, yeah, in addition, you get the team statistics. So this is another feature unique to GraphTFT, where you get the health, the mana, etc., of your whole team. And also, here is the list of synergies that are active on the board. So, yeah, that's the app overview. If there's any questions about how any of this works, I'd be happy to answer.
That's very cool. Let me make this a little bit bigger so then people actually, this is a good way. Yeah, I mean, how you you pick the two heroes, I guess. I mean, maybe go from there, and then you can, the rest is then select. You can select as you go, or how does that work? Do you?
Well, I guess you can use the app whichever way you would prefer.
Yeah.
Usually in the game, you can only play so many champions at each time. So
Okay.
during the
Yeah.
first stage, you play one, then two, and at each stage, you're given maybe 5 to pick from.
Okay.
So the question becomes, oh, who do I pick? Who is optimal to pick?
Yeah.
So that's where adding them one by one and seeing the teams automatically filter. There's a lot of use in this, but it also applies to items as well. So if you're not sure, if I build a team, if you're not sure like which item to apply, say you're given. So I should maybe clarify. There's two kinds of items. There's basic items and combined items. So basic items obviously form combined items, and you can view those in the network too. So
oh, nice.
if you're given this basic item, you can put it straight away on this champion Ari because it's going to build into Hex Tech Gunblade. So yeah, another use is knowing, oh, I was given this item randomly. Who should I put it on?
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. And then you combine it all, and then and then the synergies, I guess, come into play and give you a recommendation, give you some statistics on the top left. Do you? Yeah. How did it go in generally for when you built this? Was it? How was the process? Maybe let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. The process, I would say, slow. So this is my first time building an application. Like you mentioned, it's built using the Grand Stack. So GraphQL, React, JavaScript, Apollo, Neo4j databases.
Yeah.
So it started off as the Neo4j database. So I needed the data to show it in the UI. And then from there, it was building a really simple React interface to display the information from Neo4j. So I can maybe show some code to maybe talk about the model, what kind of nodes there are, and how they're opened in the UI.
Yeah.
So here is my GraphQL file. So this is used to connect to Apollo and query the data from the Neo4j database. So in this GraphQL file, you have to define your types of nodes and your types of edges. So in GraphTFT, there's, I believe, 5 kinds of nodes. So there's champions, synergies, basic items, combined items, and teams. There should be a team node. Maybe I skipped it. Oh, teams. So they're the 5 kind of nodes, and they're all connected in different kind of ways. Then when a user adds a node in the UI, that is done in this JavaScript file. And when a user clicks on a node, it runs this query. So for example, query the champions where their name is whichever champion you've clicked on, and it returns all their information, whatever information is needed to be displayed. So yeah, that's kind of how that works. It's pretty straightforward. I think anyone who's familiar with React, it was new to me, but I think anyone who's familiar with React will pick up using Neo4j very, very quickly.
Cool. There's one question from Chill. Can you show the connection between apps and the Neo4j database?
Yeah. So that is done in this GraphQL file. So it connects to Neo4j using Neo4j GraphQL. This is standard, and I think it's documented many times in the Neo4j docs. But yeah, very, very straightforward. It's very easy to do, and it's very fast.
Yeah.
This just wraps around the React app.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's like you said, explained in the documentation. So that's yeah, seems like very standard. Cool. And yeah, I think that's very exciting. How did you? That's basically the outline. I think for the. I think we can talk about 2 things maybe. Talk about the. It's always interesting, at least to me, I think, and to users, is how did you do the visualization on GraphTFT? Because that's always interesting, right? You see there's lots of ways of using lots of tools, I think, to use to build a graph kind of visualization on websites. I think that yours is interesting because you have the icons and the text alongside of it, so that looks interesting and looks very very visually appealing also, because it kind of it shows directly what you see on top in the grid, and you see it at the bottom as well, and then you have a direct connection between the content of your heroes and their synergies and their items and the images.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I guess there's many ways you could display this graph network in a React UI. I think in particular I'm using React, I think it's called. I could probably find it here. Yeah, React.
Okay. Yeah.
There's lots of I guess there's a few different options you have, but I found this based on a blog, a Medium article by Thomas.
One of our colleagues, Tomasz Bratanic, maybe.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He wrote a blog a while ago about how to use React and connect it to Neo4j. So that was kind of the starting point for this. So I would recommend anyone who's interested checking that out. The great thing about React is there's a lot of customizability with what you can do. So each node is obviously an image. Then what I'm doing is changing the color of the image depending on how many champions there are of that certain synergy. So if we take Invoker, right now it's colored bronze because there's 2. But if I actually build out the champions that are part of Invoker, you'll see the color change. So
That's so
of the
cool.
item.
Yeah, I wondered before how of the color mean anything, but obviously yes.
The color is like directly connected to the number of champions. So for each synergy, there's kind of like a threshold. When you have two, it's going to be like power level one. When there's four, it's going to be power level two. Uh, so I wanted to really highlight that in the network because like part of the purpose of GraphTFT is that it's like very visual. I didn't want someone to have to look at the graph, then look at the side, then like look over here. Like from looking at the network straight away, you can see, okay, these are the two most powerful synergies. Uh, so yeah, they change in color and also they change in size. So these gold ones are bigger than these gray ones. Uh, and yeah, that took a lot of coding and playing around with it to try and get it to actually work properly.
Yeah, it looks super cool. It's and it's yeah, it's exactly what you need, right? I mean, you when you build your grid, when you build your set of champions, and you get direct feedback on, okay, yeah, this makes sense. This is a great combination on synergies or on. Does it work for items as well? Is there um,
Uh,
highlighting in this regard as well, or is this mainly for the synergies, and the items are more like, okay, there's a recommendation to put this item to this champion because this is the best place to be. There is no um, the correlation between.
yeah, the items are solely based on like the recommendations, but
Yeah.
it's actually a good point you mentioned because each item in the meta actually does have a tier. So if I click, you'll see it. Like rapid fire cannon, it's A tier.
Mm-hmm.
It's recommended for these champions. You can actually expand out the champions from the item. I think it should work. Yeah. So yeah, obviously this is A tier. So perhaps maybe in the future update I can make this a bigger item. If it's S tier, it's going to be even bigger, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something interesting, probably worth exploring in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be fun. And just to make it the void now here in this case, you see Empress very big, very yellow, so means super good, and void is gray and only this is much smaller, so that means less of a synergy in this case.
Yeah, exactly. So for Empress, you can see it's not connected to any other champions, but for this synergy, you only need one instance
Ah, I
of
see.
it to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
most powerful,
Okay.
which is partly connected to the reason uh, Belveth is in gold color. She's like a 5 cost champion, and they kind of are more powerful,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, cool. Did
Maybe I can
did
mention too. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
absolutely. No, go
Uh,
ahead. Yeah.
you can actually see when you click on the synergy. So not only can you expand the champions, but you can also get an overview of what the champion, what the synergy means,
Mhm.
because they'll each have different effects on the team.
Okay. Yeah. Did when you built this and then I guess you you used this to play a Teamfight Tactics. Did did you come up with anything where you think, okay, I usually did this, but now if I look at the graph or look at the app, then it tells me actually you should be doing something else. Did that change your playstyle, or did that change your winning strategy a little bit? And did your did you win more when you used the recommendations a little bit more?
Yeah, that's actually a great question because when set 8.5 came out, so right now we're in Teamfight Tactics set 9.
Hmm.
When set 8.5 came out, I think I had most of these features finished. And the first game I played of the set, I actually won because I was following
Yeah.
these meta team comps like exactly while
Okay.
I played the game. So at that moment, I was like, this is actually a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I probably don't play as much as I'd like to play
Yeah.
because I'm busy developing and working on research. But
Yeah.
I actually think it is very powerful because there's no other apps that's actually like this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Do you think this is cheating?
That's a really good question actually,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna say no. And the reason for that is I've actually applied to get this app approved by Riot, and Riot Games have actually approved it. So from what I can understand, it's gotten their stamp of approval.
Okay, cool.
They've said it's
Congratulations.
okay.
Yeah, that's really good.
No, thank you. And the same with Overleaf or Overwolf. Overwolf is a kind of like an app store for gamers. So when you're playing a game, you can make like an overlay, and it's been accepted to Overwolf as well. So hopefully in the future I'll be able to turn this into an Overwolf app. That'd be really good.
Then you don't have to tab out of the game anymore. You can basically directly use the overlay within the game.
Exactly. Because like one option is maybe live streamers could like show the network on their live stream. So as they play, you can see this expand in real time.
Yeah.
Just as an interesting visual.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Should be cool. I mean, I think that we talked a little bit about this because it just was, very 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 good coincidence of when we had set this live stream for today, and then 22 days ago, so League of Legends or Riot Games actually bought League of Graphs which is for League of Legends. So same universe basically, but different game, a little bit different game. This statistics app and champions, build guiding app for, and this is quite surprising, I think, maybe, but maybe not. It isn't. $55 million.
That's a lot of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there must be this apps for games, especially for these competitive games. Like, I guess maybe I'm sure there's something for Dota as well, League of Legends, all these Teamfight Tactics, other more tactical based games. I think there are probably apps around. But what do you think of this? Is this a yeah? Do you think this is good for helping players be better and helping them to find synergies and improve the game style and all of that? And what do you think about the 55 million?
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw that, when you emailed me, I was like, wow, that is an insane amount of money for a League of Legends app. But I guess when I looked into it, then it started to make sense. I don't think it was actually bought by Riot, which was actually quite surprising. I think it was bought by some company that.
Oh yes, you're right.
Yeah. Game analytics.
Yeah. True. Right. You're right. I messed this up. I messed this up. True. They yeah. No.
That's very surprising. Right. I thought
because
yeah. Like if Riot bought it, then it kind of makes sense. Like they want to integrate some of these analytics. It's probably faster to buy it off someone.
Yeah.
But no, it was by a company that do analytics for games, which is quite surprising. But then I thought about it, and I guess there's such a huge user base for apps like these. Like I think I read the League of Graphs that got bought had 1 million daily users or something, which is insane. And I don't know, like there's other apps that have just as many users too. There's like, I can name a few other Teamfight Tactics apps that get hundreds of thousands of users. And there is a big business in it. Like I know probably the most popular Teamfight Tactics app is like a company that hire people, and it's their whole business model is these analytics apps.
Yeah,
it was crazy. Like me just making this as a project for fun and to learn about graphs.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, with this amount of views, you can sell a lot of ads as well. So they might be able to get their money back at some point through the ad placements. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, I'm sure they will eventually. But wow, 55 million, that's a lot.
Yeah. But I guess you're right. It's for people are interested in this. People are wanted to optimize. People want to find the way of guiding. So I mean, yeah, I see the same for other games. I started to play Diablo 4 a couple of when the release was there, and there's lots of pages that give you, you can use pages to build your set, skill trees and building guides and hints and tips for how to best which aspects to use, which skills to take for best for leveling, best for endgame, and stuff like that. So that's yeah.
Could you see a graph Diablo? Could that work?
That could, well, yes, because you have, I mean, the skill tree in itself is almost already a graph, if you think about it, but then it doesn't. Similar to what you did here in Teamfight Tactics, it doesn't give you any visual guidings on skills that are you know um, synergizing each other, I guess, or impacting each other. So if you pick an earth skill or something, I play a druid. So if I have an earth skill with my druid, then if I get another passive skill that influences skills for earth and damage, it isn't. There's no visual connection between the two. So I think that could be really be relevant and say, okay, yeah, you pick this earthen skill type whatever, pulverize, I think it's called, and then if you go down here to the passive list, then there is a boost on this specific skill, and then you see that as a connection. But in the skill tree itself, it's not as visually visible. So I think that could be
interesting. That
something.
could be the next app.
Yeah,
Graph Diablo.
absolutely. Yeah.
which is something I've been thinking about. Like, I have the whole framework built now, for connecting to a Neo4j database and displaying like apps in a React app. So any game we could turn this into something like that.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, you said you had Bloom open. Did you want to show something on Bloom?
Yeah, I think Bloom would be interesting to explore, because we can kind of go through it in a more simple way.
Yeah.
So this is probably a good place to start. So this is, in yellow we have the champions, and
Okay.
in pink we have the synergies.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of view how they're all connected. Also, Bloom is very useful. We can see like all the stats. So
Nice.
each champion does have a lot of stats. So there is a lot of information being stored on each node.
How did you get this in? Was this a manual labor of love, or was there some kind of way of is there, I don't know, maybe a CSV file or some data available which you could just pipe in?
There's unfortunately not. I have built quite a complicated ETL pipeline in Python that goes across different websites. It's a massive thing. It goes across lots of different websites to aggregate all the information. It transforms the data in a way that suits Neo4j.
Mm-hmm.
It uploads, so it transforms into these CSV files. It uploads the CSV files to Google Docs.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Google Docs get read into Neo4j, and that's kind of how the ETL pipeline works. So if I run the script once, it will update everything all the way along the pipeline, which is something I'm very actually proud of making. That fully works in one click, because that's probably the most hard part of this whole process, was doing the ETL.
I can imagine, because
everything's
things
always
are
changing.
changing, right? I mean, I don't know how it is with Teamfight Tactics, but I guess new sets of champions mean different addition of new champions, obviously, but then also maybe during patches, maybe somebody gets nerfed, somebody gets buffed, some values change left or right, items get added, stuff like that. So it's very difficult to keep this up to date.
Yeah, like Riot Games have some amazing developers that are like constantly updating the game and like balancing things as more items get better, some items get weaker. But I think the thing that probably changes the fastest is the team compositions. So like a new meta is always emerging. It's never the same. And I actually store the teams in nodes. So if I display that, teams, maybe teams champion is probably the best. We can see these are how champions connect to the top teams in the meta. So yeah, this is always changing. So it was really important that when I was making this app to actually have a script that will be reliable to use and be easy to actually update this
Yeah,
information in the game.
yeah,
Uh, so you can actually see, and I think this provides actually a really interesting question in terms of like data science, like which champion has the most connections to best meta teams.
yeah,
Uh, like some of these machine learning algorithms we could run on this network and see. Um, yeah, it's really interesting, and that's actually something I'm hoping to do in the future with this. Is to like analyze it more from a statistical point of view.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it's that's interesting to see how maybe some hero was always like a little bit neglected because it didn't work out for them how they were working. Then all of a
Mm.
sudden maybe something changes, new item gets added, and something, maybe another hero comes in that then is the perfect synergy partner for this specific hero, and then they go back up and say, oh wow, you need to play with this again,
Mm.
which people haven't played for in a while, or something else, you know, influencing each other.
Yeah, like could you use some kind of page rank algorithm to find, which champions are the most important?
Yeah,
And
for
then
sure.
then
Yeah,
that probably means they need to be buffed because they're unbalancing the game.
yeah,
Too many people are playing. And it's something I wonder, like Riot Games could, like, they're a massive company, they could be using graphs to do this kind of
yeah.
development. It's something I
I don't know how Riot works, obviously, but I guess they must be analyzing this, and they must be analyzing matches and statistics and all of that, and see, okay, is something. And then the community is obviously a very vocal one in all of video games, so this is true for Teamfight Tactics and for any other video game. So if something is not right, then you will you will hear about it.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think there's been a scandal recently with there was some bug, and the TFT developers have been on holidays, and the bug has been breaking the game, and
Oh no.
the developers know about the bugs straight away
Yeah.
before anyone even messaged them about it, because they have all these insights.
Yeah.
So they just don't want to talk about it, because then everyone's gonna take
Mm.
advantage of the bug.
No, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. And you do you use Bloom yourself for anything, or is it more for in this case now for you for a backend guiding kind of system, or did you have any while developing the app, or now when it's since it's live, anything
Mm.
you are doing with Bloom in particular?
Uh, I actually use Bloom a lot during the development process. So,
Hmm.
Bloom is a surefire way to make sure like the data has been loaded to Neo4j properly.
Yeah,
Uh, if I'm trying to use my GraphTFT UI, then there could be problems on the front end that are affecting it. So I always come back to Bloom and the console to actually see what's going on. Uh, yeah, I think this is incredibly useful. Bloom, it's like out of the box, works really well.
yeah. Yeah, that's it's very helpful. And always, like, in your case, I think you have a very visual app as well, and the app in itself is based on a little bit, I think, on the visual aspect. But in some cases, the visual aspect is not as relevant. But if it is, then it is a very good way to look at it, to see the data, to play with it. You have some customizability. You can go around, um, uh, showcasing or visualizing what you have, and then if you look at it with one glance, almost it's very clear to you what it is, if you understand what's going on, and then you can understand, okay, like you said here, most most popular hero, for example, it shouldn't be too difficult if you add a couple of options saying, okay, when a hero has many inbound connections, and the node diameter gets bigger, and then all of a sudden you see a big one pop up. I think if I look at this now without knowing, is this, there's one in the top, I think it's called Janva 4 or something, Janan 4.
Jarvan 4. Where is
Yeah,
Jarvan 4?
it's in the middle, next to this, a little bit up from where your bounce pointer is.
Here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
This
he
one
is.
seems very popular.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
Yeah,
Uh, that's really interesting. Yeah, and even just by visualizing it, you can see straight
yeah,
away.
exactly. And I haven't haven't played Teamfight Tactics before.
One thing we can do, we can have a look and see like what are his stats like. So if we look at champions, maybe DPS. So DPS is damage per second.
Yeah.
Does he have some of the highest DPS? Maybe just a quick. This is super useful. You can see like straight away which champions have the highest damage in the game.
Yeah, this is also another way how visualization helps a lot. So you see, okay, these are the top 5, 6 champions with the most DPS values or highest DPS values.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I wonder if we click into Jarvan 4.
He's got lots of mana.
Yeah, lots of health. It's like, it's funny how little information you actually get from looking at a table.
Yeah.
Compared to the graph.
Yeah. It's true. Mana.
Yeah.
Health, I guess. Yeah, maybe he's a more tanky character.
Yeah, interesting.
That absorbs more damage while the others deal the damage.
Yeah, he's a member of 22 or 16 teams,
16,
which is probably the most out of anybody.
Yeah.
We could probably visualize that here as well if we open up.
Yeah.
Where is Jarvan? Yeah, so this is a long list that all contains.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Jarvan.
He's always there.
Yeah, I should actually check. I think a TFT patch went live today, maybe. The first patch in maybe a week or two. It's probably worth checking. Did Jarvan 4 get a nerf? Did he get made worse?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, there's a question from Eshwar in chat. From all the champions, how can we analyze and predict the targeting for the best champion? So I guess, you know, how yeah, but I think we talked a little bit about this, but is what else goes in when you recommend a champion or the next champion? Now maybe start with Jarvan 4. What you know, you see. The first thing you see here, I guess, is the synergy. So how would you then pick going from synergies, or would you pick another random champion and then see where the build leads you?
Yeah, so I guess it's really about the team as a whole and less about each individual champion. So usually when you start playing the game, usually you're kind of playing with what you're given. So at the start, if you're given one of these champions, then you're going to be looking to see, okay, which team can I build with that champion? You could try and force a team, but force a team means, you know, like keep re-rolling until you get that champion, and like there are ways to do that, but most of the time you're building based off what you're actually given. So this recommendation system is working based on the champions that you're given in your team already. I guess the synergies that these teams actually have, the synergies are more coming from the actual statistics. So these synergies are actually statistically really strong. I'm just recommending based on the champions that make up those teams.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Yeah, and then I mean, I don't know. I had one more question is, and I think you touched a little bit on this. So there's maybe what's next for GraphTFT? Do you think to add some more features, or do you think this is okay? This is as it is, and then maybe do you have another project in mind?
So first of all, I definitely don't think this is how it is so far. I think there's a few things I need to change. So, for instance, when you click, it's not very intuitive to the user that you can click on a champion or a synergy to get their information. So one thing I want to do in the UI design going forward is move the team synergies from the left-hand panel, put it beside the board, and then put a section here which is dedicated, select on a champion to view synergies or view champion information. So
some explanation text.
Yeah, it will display this in the side instead, because then it's more intuitive to say, oh, I need to click. Also, users tend to screenshot this with the synergies on this side, so they can share with their friends, oh, here's a good synergy in a screenshot form. So that's one change to the UI. I think it's important. Then the second thing I'm working on is using large language models to predict good teams. So LangChain has recently introduced a new feature to query Neo4j databases using natural language. So I've set up it's just in a Jupyter notebook so far, but a usage of OpenAI's functions to query in multiple stages to get some result. So it's still really, I'm just in beta testing it, but the goal is you'll ask a question. What's the best team that uses this champion? Then the LLM will say, we'll use something like React for prompting, and it will say something like, oh, I need to find the best team. Then it does an Neo4j search for the best team. Oh, which champions are in this team that connect to this other synergy, and it will work like that. I have it open. I could share, but again, it's still it's still very, very basic. So right now, it'll answer really simple questions easily that are like one-hop questions. By one-hop, I kind of mean it can ask Neo4j database in one question and get a result. And so what synergy is Irelia? Then it automatically forms the Cypher query. Irelia has synergies with Challenger and Iona. So we can maybe verify that. So hopefully this loads quickly. Yeah, Challenger and Iona. So the next step of this is to kind of make more complicated questions, like you ask, what is the best way to play a champion? Then and this is something we're using in our research, like think, the LLM thinks, oh, to find out how to play Malzahar, I should check what team he's in, search the teams. Oh, he's not in any meta teams at the moment. So one of the problems is if there's no meta available on the panel, then how do you know what to pick? So the LLM is going to search the synergies, for example, and then go through like that and make multiple stages to answer the query.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that opens up a lot of new possibilities, and not only for a UI perspective, where you can play as you go and type in some stuff, but also in terms of additional recommendations, additional features, additional ways of getting to the recommendations in the end, because you like here you say, yeah, I have this this build starter point basically, but then I can pick a couple of my recommended teams, and maybe LLM can tell me a little bit about the playstyle, tell me a little bit about what it means. Do you answer, maybe start around a different way. You answer a couple of questions. How do you enjoy playing, and then you can get a recommendation on the build you get from the random draw of heroes, and I can say, okay, you should go this path because this is following your play style. Might not be the best recommendation there, because it's the ideal combination is a completely different play style. But according to what you like to do, this set of heroes also is very close to the ideal set, but it suits your playstyle better, then you have more fun. if you know what I mean.
Yeah, like you like to build this synergy, so it will tend to recommend towards that synergy. Yeah, I think the LLMs will be a super interesting application here. I know everything is kind of LLMs at the moment, but it's super fun to use it and like see what it says. And yeah, they have a really good ability of analyzing really, I guess, like high dimensional, complicated data, and understanding it, and then giving a simplified explanation of what that data means. So I'm hoping to like use that to make some kind of recommendation system for TFT.
Cool. And anything else you'd like to mention before we wrap up?
I think that's it. If anyone is interested, if anyone plays TFT, then check out graphtft.com is what I would say. Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been great.
Absolutely. Are you looking for contribution or something on a GitHub repo or something? Is that a place, or would people just go to GraphTFT and give you a ping, or on Twitter? I guess you're also on at GraphTFT if you have if anybody wants.
My Twitter is GraphTFT, and I have a personal Twitter as well. It's Ciaran_Regan_. So if anyone wants to connect there, you can happy to connect there and answer any questions about GraphTFT. It's been a very interesting experience so far.
Yeah, I put all the links in the YouTube video description. So if you watch this afterwards and wondering where the links are, then just go down to the description. Everything is there. Yeah, thank you very much, Ciaran, for today, for taking the time, and obviously for building GraphTFT. I liked it a lot. It's very cool. I think it's interesting, and I hope lots of people will enjoy it, and maybe also at some point you will be able to sell it for $55 million.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice? Exactly. I'm rooting for you. So yeah, totally. That's that. We'll be back with another Neo4j live stream next week. Another one very visually focused on again on a Tuesday. This time then evening slot or afternoon slot, but we will talk about SemSpect, which is a visualization platform, I would say, that takes Neo4j and graph data into this visually different way of working with the data on a visual aspect. Should be fun, should be interesting. So I'm looking forward to this episode next week. And with that, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you soon on one of the upcoming streams. Other than that, subscribe to the YouTube channel to be up to date, and come to the community page. As Ciaran said, it's a very nice interactive place. If you have any question, any feedback, any comments, or just like to help people out, then go there. And thank you for your time, and see you next time.
Yeah, see you at Nodes.
Yeah, and see you at Nodes, exactly. Bye.
Bye.